we're very fortunate today to have a client that we've been talking about clients a lot today. And Tavina, from your perspective, and given what you've heard Dominic and Matthew touch on in their presentations, could you just tell us a little bit about what it is you look for in a law firm and what kind of relationship building techniques and things that you see people using?
Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, in response to Dominic's statistic about, the such low percentage of pitch documents that are customised, I mean, that's a shocker to me, really, to hear that the execution is so far away from the intent. And it's shocking to think that law firms just don't put the BD resource into achieving that customisation, because if I was to receive a pitch document that was only partially customised and not significantly customised, you put it to one side, really. And even before you get to that pitch document stage, even before you get to a pitch presentation stage, there has got to be, a whole backlog of research that is done into the particular client. And partners at law firms should not be afraid to pick up the phone and chew the ear off the client and the in-house instructing lawyer to find out exactly what their needs are. In-house lawyers are busy people, but, they want this to work as well. And, I'd be more than happy to speak for an hour about our particular needs, because the needs of a client, really, really change over time, and they change depending on clients. So, I would expect to chat with someone in a law firm, and, they'd be getting into the granular detail. Like, I think they'd be asking about the total makeup of the legal team, lawyer by lawyer, name by name, understanding their expertise, because that's going to help you. That's going to help you to understand why there might be gaps in the expertise, and that's an opportunity, and that's where there could be a focus for the pitch, and also just understanding what is required, because sometimes it's about expertise, but at other times it's about resource, and so it's really important to understand the adequate resourcing or lack of adequate resourcing in the in-house team. Speaking from experience, chronic problem at my department is having a headcount freeze and not being adequately resourced. So, having had a conversation with outside counsel, I can say that that's number one priority. We want our outside counsel to represent an extension of the in-house team. We want them to deal with all overflow work, pick up the dirty day-to-day commercial contracts. We want them to liaise directly with our clients, the business folk. And we want, that to require minimal supervision. So that's one example where a law firm has worked with us very successfully to find a solution. And the solution was, right, we're going to put in place 6 junior associates. They're going to become totally versed in your business. We're going to give you some free hours. We're going to invest some time in getting to understand how your contracts work, how your business works, what your priorities are, what the pipeline is. And then, having invested all that time, then they do become this extension, and you get a regular amount of work, once you've won the business, month by month, by a set of associates who are just, executing and providing exactly what you pitched for. So really doing that research up front and really understanding the business is key. But I appreciate that it's really difficult, unless you're working day by day with the in-house team to really understand that. It's difficult to really, get how they all work. And so in a pitch document, for example, I'd be looking for, again, a commitment to really get to know the business. And so, again, we've had senior associates and partners come in and spend up to 10 hours with us to really understand the business and what we want to achieve as part of this engagement. I'll quickly just explain my background, because there's a little bit of confusion over brands and Oath and Yahoo. So I'm now the UK GC for a company called Oath, and Oath was set up by Verizon, the big telecommunications giant. And they set up Oath, which is a company to sit over a house of brands. And that house of brands includes Yahoo. And I was previously the UK GC for Yahoo. But Oath now owns all the Yahoo products and services, but also other services like HuffPost, TechCrunch, Crunch, Engadget, Tumblr, and Flickr. And so that's a huge publishing platform. And Oath makes its revenue through advertising on those platforms and other sort of revenue-generating partnerships. But we, primarily have a lot of commercial contracts work. So we have a preferred firm that does that work for us. But one thing that was great about this firm is that, they don't profess to be experts in all areas of the law. And that's one thing to talk about in pitch documents, don't oversell. It's actually really good to hear a firm, be honest and upfront about the fact that they might not have relevant expertise in a particular area. So, for example, we use a number of boutique firms for expert work as well. So just moving on a little bit, I think that you mentioned personality being key. And, I just want to reiterate that again. And again, as part of the research in the pitching process, part of that research is finding out what the personality of the in-house team is like, and then matching that with the personality of your best partner and best team of associates in the firm. And, by personality fit, I certainly don't mean finding, a female lawyer in their very early 20s like myself, but just finding someone who you get on with. My best pals are white, middle-aged partners in law firms, because that's all that we have at the moment. But it is definitely building up trust, having a strategic advisor, and we talked about having a strategic insight as someone who's got bags of experience and who can sit above all the legal matters and provide some insight. But it is just a sounding board and a friend, really. So at Oath and the Yahoo side, we've obviously, you won't have missed that Yahoo's been through a big cybersecurity hack. And so, again, you're working hours and hours with your cybersecurity counsel, and it just wouldn't work if you weren't pals and you trusted each other.
Great, thank you. And you alluded earlier on, and we talked before we came on the stage about this sort of added value piece, and you mentioned some free hours and things. And are there kind of innovative things that you see firms doing now that maybe you didn't a few years ago in terms of creating real value? Because I think one of the points Matthew makes in his book is that, to an extent, some of the added value pieces aren't nearly expected now, so it's not really added value, it's just part of the deal.
Yes, absolutely. I think other things are free places at seminars, in-house trainings, not only for yourself, but also for the business. And I think in terms of sort of technology, we've been pitched ideas for having intranets, particularly in areas of GDPR or Brexit, which are all, which you just absolutely expect as added value.
Yeah. And Matthew, could we maybe go back to some of the sort of practicalities within the firm in terms of who's involved in preparing the pitch and who goes to the pitch meetings? Because I think one of the points you made earlier on, and again in your book, is that when you left one particular firm, they were a bit cross with you because the associates didn't know anything about tendering, because you'd been doing all the tendering yourself, which is a kind of backhanded compliment, I think. But just in terms of who you think should be involved, is it all partner-led? Is it BD team-led? Is it who kind of holds the pen?
Yeah, there are, of course, lots of different types of pitches, and that really is not one size fits all, as so often in our world. So very, very broadly, I would put pitches into three buckets. There's first bucket are panel pitches, so the big chunky pitches that to get on the panel, which can sometimes take, you're given 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever lead time, and for those pitches, I think they need to be project managed. They're massive. They can be global. They can be huge. Hundreds of different practice areas, and I think you need a specialist there who can project manage those. And then you may have a whole army of different people feeding in different aspects, but there's one person, and I think that should be a specialist, a pitch writer, a BD trained person. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket I would call major cross-practice or regional pitches. These are pretty chunky documents as well. Mm-hmm. It may be for a major, I don't know, like a LNG project terminal somewhere, which they can take, sometimes you're given a couple of weeks' notice. They're pretty significant and quite complex. And I would again suggest that those should be essentially run and project managed by a professional, a BD or pitch professional. The third bucket is what I would call product pitches, very loosely. These are huge generalizations here, I appreciate, but just to simplify it, is a product pitch. And they are ones where it's for a specific, like a capital markets, for a to do a medium-term loan program for a client, and it's something you've done before, and it may just be maybe just basically a fee quote and a bit more than that. I think those ones you might, sometimes are given quite a short notice period as well. It may be a day, a couple of days, or even sometimes hours. And I think those where you can have effective templates in place that we can get our lawyers to take much more of a responsibility for those. And again, following the accountants actually, and they call it self-service in the major accountants, where they try to put all the tools onto an intranet. So all the the credentials and the CV, it's all there in the templates, and it should require minimal guidance and support. And so you can make sure your BD guys and your pitch specialists are focused on those chunky pitches that need the project management. That's, I mean, I've generalised. That's how I would see it, and I think there is a role here for associates. I think it's good for their careers, really to understand the business. We found that too often, guys that come up, 8, 9, 10 years qualified, they're coming up for partnership and they've never done a pitch before. And you kind of, if you're going to become a partner and you've got to be self-supporting and create your own business, you've got to understand the dynamics and how it works. So I think it's the right thing to do, and that's definitely the direction of travel we're going in.
And in terms of you talked about the importance of the presentation, which is clearly when you can actually build a relationship. And I thought it was interesting that a lot of people are nodding in the audience about the emphasis on the document. We have to get the document out. And then somebody invites people to a presentation, and it's kind of, we better get there. It's at 10 o'clock, as opposed to kind of doing a lot of rehearsal around that. We've talked earlier on today about the increasing role of BD people and marketing people at client-facing kind of opportunities. So whether it's getting client feedback or going to sort of chasing leads and things like that. But in terms of formal presentations, do you see more BD people actually going to pitches, or is it still the partners who are going to be doing the work that go to the pitches?
I again use one size doesn't fit all.
No, I understand.
And so I think it's so important to again think about the client. What's going to help the client? And anyone who turns up at a client meeting, they should have a role which should be understood by the client and make sense and can add some value to the conversation. That's the premise. If you think that there's a business development person that can do that, then great, bring them along. We certainly, in my firm, we have a small number of relationship managers who are responsible for a portfolio of clients. And actually, they know the clients in some respects almost better than some of the partners. They know the dynamics of the client. And yes, they can bring value to that conversation. But I think it needs to be very carefully thought through. But I'd say the same thing as well, if I may, about associates, because that's another topic that comes up. Is should associates come to the presentation? And again, I think it's dependent on the client and the situation. But increasingly, what we're hearing is that clients do want associate representation at the presentation because they want to see the people who are actually going to do the blooming work. Yeah. What they don't want to see is just the partners rocking up, doing a nice big sell, and then you never see them again. And the first call the client receives is from a 27-year-old associate who they've never met before. So that needs to be thought about.
I see you nodding your head there, Davina. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see associates at pitch presentations. Precisely because they're doing the work, and you're going to be working with them on a day-to-day basis. But equally, I think it is important for the partner who wins that work for you to, through the pitch process and post-pitch process, remain fully involved in the work that is being done. And so it's got to be a balance between the visibility of a partner and associates. And, I'm fully aware that partners are busy people and they're dealing with multiple clients, but, at a minimum, they need to be aware of all the matters that their associates are working on. There should be regular check-ins with the client. And again, there should be regular calls for that strategic insight, for that sounding board that I was talking about previously.